Hi everyone. Today's topic of discussion is how to choose an outsourced vendor if you're looking at business process outsourcing as a strategic imperative for your business or your law practice or your accounting practice. The first thing to consider is that choosing an outsourced vendor is not about a race to the bottom. The choice should not be based on which vendor is the cheapest or is offering you the lowest price. A large number of factors should impact your decision making or should be part of your decision making framework when choosing an outsourced vendor. So the key factors are things like, does the vendor have a local presence? For example, if they have operations in India or Philippines, is there a local management team or board which is a point of contact for you initially and can manage the process also on an ongoing basis in any relationship or engagement with your firm or company? Also, is the entity engaging with you or looking to engage with you an Australian entity or a local entity as opposed to an entity sitting in India or Philippines or any other outsourced location? Because enforcing the terms of a contract is a lot difficult if your outsourced provider only has a presence in an overseas location. Also, does your outsourced provider carry insurance? Things like cybersecurity insurance, professional indemnity insurance, to cover you for any errors of omission, commission, or malicious damage from their employees if such an unfortunate event was to occur. So what sort of coverage does the outsourced provider provide? And that has a direct relationship also to what the provider charges, because a provider who might be providing such an insurance coverage to you and charges more is a better provider to engage with than someone who might be offering a cheaper price, but you have no legal recourse if your data confidentiality is breached or something like that happens. Also, what sort of infrastructure, security infrastructure, physical infrastructure that the provider has in terms of the services they provide? Do they own the infrastructure, or do they once again outsource to third parties? Because if their provider is outsourcing some of your work to third parties, what sort of control then the provider has over the party to which it outsources to? Also, does the provider for its offshore staff allow work from home, for example? If it does that, then what sort of security measures does it take to ensure that your data is not exposed to any additional risk? Then also, what sort of knowledge does the provider have in processes that you're undertaking in terms of knowledge of tools, knowledge of the legal and regulatory framework that you are working in? Is the provider familiar with these things? Because these also play a big part in a long-term strategic relationship. Also, what sort of additional value adds does the provider provide? Do they create an environment where you can learn new processes or technology from the provider, or have contact with similar businesses from whom you can learn a knowledge share in a non-competitive fashion? What sort of those additional value adds does a provider bring if they're engaging in outsourcing with you? It is also important to look at, will you get a dedicated team who does your work all the time, so that you're not spending time training the provider's team members every time someone leaves the provider's team. So these factors should form an overall framework of consideration in choosing an outsourced provider. This process does not need to be difficult. This process should focus on what does a long-term strategic engagement with the outsourced provider look like? What sort of benefits does your team get in terms of better work-life balance, being able to better structure resourcing and work in their workday? And what sort of profitability and margin enhancement do you get, obviously, without necessarily choosing a race to the bottom to choose the cheapest provider all the time? So these should be the factors that should be taken into consideration when choosing an outsourced provider. To learn more about how to choose an outsourced provider or insights into this matter, feel free to contact me. Thank you, everyone.